Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. It's a great honor for me to address you today, where we celebrate His Holiness Gour Govinda Maharaj, my very beloved God brother. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Parishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvashesha Shunyavari Bhaskatyadi Satayane. Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj Ki Jai. I met Maharaj the first time when he came to our Heidelberg temple and delivered a lecture on Lord Balaram. After he had concluded his lecture, I went with him up to his room and I asked him a question. Maharaj, you have been singing. You have been so enthusiastic to share very deep points in Krishna consciousness that I have not heard before. Your style of delivery is so extraordinary. Please explain to me what is in your mind. What do you want to achieve while preaching in our movement? It was a question asked out of curiosity. I had become very inspired by his delivery. I thought, oh, here is someone who can supply nectar, but I wanted to know what was going on in his mind. And at that time, he explained to me his three purposes in preaching within our movement. And I want to read these three purposes in his own words to you, because it's nice on such a day to connect with the message, the mission of the great personality of Gour Govinda Maharaj. He says, it's in New York City, July 94. There are three things that are very important to me. One is that I want to preach to the preachers. It causes me so much pain to see the devotees falling down and going away. The second thing is that I want to show how everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. Those persons who are saying that Srila Prabhupada only gave ABC, it causes me so much pain in my heart. I want to make them silent. And the third thing is that I want to show how everything is in ISKCON and that devotees do not have to go elsewhere for higher teachings. So three things are very important to him. He wants to educate the preachers, preach to the preachers, nourish the preachers. The second thing is our dear Maharaj wants to show how everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. You can see that in his deliveries. He reads the verses and the purports from Srila Prabhupada and then goes deeper, but not away from the content. And then the third thing is he wants to show that everything is in this movement. There is no need for devotees to go elsewhere for higher teachings. So he explained the same 3 points to me in Heidelberg, and when after our discussion I thought, wow, here is a very, very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada who is only there for serving Srila Prabhupada. And much later I could see what he meant. I could see much later how devotee staff to obtain these deep and relishable insights in their Krishna consciousness. Therefore, I very much congratulate those like our Madhavananda Prabhu who regularly publish the lectures or excerpts from the books, or even books by Maharaj. It's a great need. We need that nourishment. When I came to the temple in Bhuvaneshwara, please excuse me for a moment. When I came, Maharaj had already left the planet, but I looked at the place where he stayed. I looked at the obviously the temple, and then there was a smaller temple, and I could walk a little bit through his heart, so to say, because these external buildings were manifestations of what he had in his heart. And I think you as disciples and friends and well-wishers of Maharaj know that he wanted to open a crying school. He was very much aware of Lord Chaitanya's way of preaching in the mood of separation, vipralambha. This bhakti is called viraha bhakti. Because, see, in separation from Krishna, you go inside your heart and you find him there. That is the most relevant and realistic way of meeting Krishna for us conditioned souls. Meeting him by feeling a separation from him to the degree that we cry. I would like to speak about this crying school a little bit, and I've also found some very nice references. There were two types of crying which Maharaj taught. After all, a school needs to have a variety of subject matters. So in his crying school, there was crying for Guru Kripa and then crying for Krishna Kripa. Let us first hear a quote on the first point, crying for Guru Kripa. The Shishya, the Sadhaka, Maharaj says, should always cry for Guru Kripa, the causeless mercy of the Guru. Unless you cry for it, you cannot get it. Nobody can get that mercy without crying. For example, when the child cries, the mother runs, thinking, "Oh, my child is crying." The child cannot be pacified by anything without the mother's presence. Because she is engaged in performing household duties, the mother may give the child a toy or a doll to play with, but the child will throw down the toy or doll and cry and cry. So unless you cry, how can you get that mercy? This crying is required. This comes from a lecture in San Francisco in the year 1994. So crying for the spiritual master, mercy. How can you meet your spiritual master? You have to cry. And then Lord Paramatma makes the arrangement that you meet the appropriate spiritual master. When you have a spiritual master, how can you get the mercy from him? You have to cry, especially after his departure. Oh, Gurudev, I'm very helpless. I'm overcome by the material modes of nature, and I'm in trouble. Please appear in my heart and help me, direct me to the right path. This crying is required. Second type of crying for Krishna's mercy. I will read to you from a lecture given in Paris in the year 1985. We should always be praying, Krishna, please help me. Chanting Hare Krishna means that the soul is crying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh Krishna Shakti, Radharani. Oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. I'm fallen. I would like to end here. It's a beautiful quotation, but this is the crying school of our Gour Govinda Maharaj. He taught, he lived what he taught. He gave an example, and he is always there to contact by any sincere disciple. Just enter his crying school. Cry. Don't be shy. Don't reserve anything. We need help. Our mind is not always under our control. Material life is not pleasant. Mercy is required. I thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.